Hey, Pretty Girl Club. This is another ranting stream. I just had to get this off my system. I noticed some of the Exoticals are doing their unpopular opinions videos too. And I just thought of some more this morning. So I just wanted to say them on here. Just a warning, I will probably lose subscribers. If you unsubscribe, that's fine. Please never view my channel again and don't come back. You won't be missed. But unpopular opinion number one, I support man weaves. Yes, that's right. I support man weaves because I don't want to date a bald headed scallywag. And a lot of women, they'll be like, oh, but being bald is sexy. No, that's just a coping mechanism that you're saying because you couldn't attract a guy with hair, or maybe your guy was too insecure to get a hair transplant or something. And it's like, no, you better transplant that shit. You better go get your lace front on fleek because you cannot convince me that women as a whole prefer men who are bald headed. They don't. It's just like how men don't prefer women who are bald headed. So I want to make a PSA and say that we should support man weaves, okay? We can make it a whole thing. This could be a part of our weekly routine. I will help you pick out your unit. In fact, we can make it a whole routine. Every weekend, we work out, we go to dinner, we get coffee, and we go purchase our units. You can get your lace front, and I will get mine. We can keep up with the sales. Sam's Beauty has a lot of good sales. RPG Show, myfirstwig.com. They've got lots of good sales. And think about this, ladies. Then he's not going to the barber shop every month. He's not going to the barber shop every 2 weeks. He's not trying to hang on to 2 strands of hair. He doesn't have a giant circle of baldness in the middle of his head. So it actually can help him to save money over time. Then he gets to spend that money on you because he's already got his man unit for the next 2 months. He's already got his install done. He got it done last month. I can't take this seriously. He already got his install last month. So all that barbershop money, the tip that he would have had to give the barber, all those hours he had to spend sitting and waiting because, they're on CP time, because they're overbooked, because all these guys have to get their hair cut. All of that is eliminated. He's saving on gas money. That's more money that he gets to spend on you. I'm trying to help you increase your financial status. Okay, hashtag social climbing. And for those of you who prefer guys who are bald, that's fine. If you prefer a bald guy, go for it. If you want to date a guy who looks like Mr. Potato Head, go for it. If you want to date a guy whose head looks like a bowling ball, I support you, okay? Diversity matters. But I just don't prefer bald men because I just feel like a lot of bald guys, they kind of remind me of my grandpa or something like that. It's like, dude, it's giving retirement home. I mean, I'm not saying it looks bad. It just reminds me of a grandpa. It's giving retirement home. It's giving deceased. It's giving casket ready. It's giving you have one foot in the grave. So thank you for your service on this earth. It was good knowing you. R.I.P. Your hair is a part of your attractiveness. Your hair is a part of your ethnic background. It tells the story of your ethnicity and your ancestry. So a part of what you're attracted to in someone is their features, and your hair, that's one of your features. So if you don't have that, yeah, it doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good. So I am in full support of man weaves. I don't care if they put the little black seasoning on their head or whatever they're doing with the brushes or they spray paint it on. As long as you get some shit going on your head, I don't have a problem. And as long as it looks natural, I don't want to see any lace lifting. Okay. I don't want to see any sticky glue or anything. You're going to have to figure something out when it comes to your workouts as a man, when you're weightlifting or something. But I'm in full support of man weaves. I'm in full support of hair transplants. That needs to be normalized because a lot of these guys, it's like, okay, so you're telling me that this man, he already has a beer belly, his teeth are already yellow and crooked, and he's bald? So now us women have to deal with the baldness as well? And then you're trying to make it a trend? No, it's not a trend. You're just trying to get women to lower their standards. No, women have standards too for aesthetics. And a lot of the men that women see in the media, like a lot of celebrities and all that, those guys are wearing man weaves. Those guys have man weaves, they have perms, they have relaxers, they have toupees, they have lace fronts. Doesn't matter what race the man is. Go look at all the K-dramas. Go look at all the telenovelas. You will see tons of men who have all kinds of toupees and stuff on. So I am in full support of it. I think it needs to be normalized because I'm tired of being around so many bald-headed scallywags. And also, I'm in my 30s, okay? So for those of us who are in our 30s or 40s, and maybe we're dating or something, we don't want every single guy to just be a bald-headed scallywag. No, I don't want your head to look like a bowling ball. That is not what I fantasize about. That's not what I dream about. And this is how I know it's a coping mechanism when women say, oh, but being bald is sexy. No, you like that guy and you had to gradually just accept the fact that he was bald. I've never heard of a woman from the time she was a little girl having crushes on a bunch of bald men. Whoever your childhood crushes were, they probably weren't bald. Whoever your favorite rappers and celebrities were, they weren't bald headed. The majority of them probably had hair. So for women to try to pretend that suddenly in your 50s, now you like bald men, no, that's all that's available. So this is why I'm making a PSA. If you are a man and you're a bald-headed scallywag, fix it. Just like how you tell women that they need to fix their edges and get rid of their alopecia and all that. Okay, well, fix your bald head. Because that's not a trend to me. Number 2, most men are bad at sex. They're bad at sex. All they do is copy porn in a lot of cases, or they think that violence is attractive. A lot of them don't even know where the clit is. They don't even know what that is. They don't know the right places to like touch you or make you feel good or whatever. They don't even want to have a conversation before you have a sexual encounter. So that's my unpopular opinion. Most men are bad at sex. So anytime a woman tells me that she's been with a lot of guys and stuff, I instantly start thinking, okay, she's had a lot of sexual traumas then. She's had a lot of bad experiences then, because there's no way you can convince me that out of your 50 bodies, that 49 of them were just amazing. No, they weren't. Statistically, they weren't. If men were good at sex, the divorce rates would not be so high. Women would be participating in casual sex more often as a part of their standard. You know, they would be chasing after sex. Women would be more sex centered like how men are. Women would be more like that if the sex was actually good. But in most cases, it's not, because a lot of guys, they just copy what they see actors doing on porn movies. Unpopular opinion number 3, sex workers should get paid more. Yeah, I said what I said. And I think they should get paid more, and I think that they deserve the money that they get, like Sophie Rain and all those women who have millions of dollars from OnlyFans, they deserve that money because they have to deal with the scum of the earth. They have to deal with creepy, perverted, gross old men. So yes, they should absolutely be compensated for that. They should be, and they should be compensated highly. So I know a lot of people think teachers and firefighters should get paid more. Well, I think ex-workers should get paid more. I will never shame ex-workers for becoming wealthy off of doing their ex-work, whether it's in person, whether it's online or whatever, because the amount of incels ex-workers have to deal with should be highly compensated. Number 5, peanut butter and jelly is overrated. It's overrated. I see a lot of people who have like fitness channels and stuff. They'll be like, oh, this is my peanut butter and jelly smoothie. This is my peanut butter and jelly acai bowl. This is my peanut butter and jelly protein shake. That's overrated. You're just trying to get attention by tapping into your audience's nostalgia. And you're hoping that people will hop on the peanut butter and jelly bandwagon. It's overrated. There are so many other flavors in this world that are better than peanut butter and jelly. The good part of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the jelly part. It's not the peanut butter part. And that leads me to my next point. Peanut butter is overrated and it's high calorie. It's overrated. It's calorie dense. All you have to do is eat a couple of spoonfuls of it and boom, you're at 500 calories. So I'm like, no, if I want to get a source of protein, I can use something else. I don't have to use peanut butter. That's just marketing. That's just Jif, that brand, marketing themselves well, or paying these influencers to popularize peanut butter and jelly. Okay, I think I'm on number 6. Africans need to put some respect on African Americans' name. Yeah, that's right. I said it, bitch. Put some respect on the names of African Americans, because a lot of people, they'll come to the United States, talk shit about people of African American ancestry. They will equate the African American heritage to slavery. And it's like, well, bitch, if all African Americans are just slaves and have a slave mindset, why the fuck are you here trying to associate with African Americans? Why are you trying to become like an African American by literally moving to the country, taking on the vernacular, taking on the culture of African Americans? And yes, African American is its own culture. It is its own ethnic background. So it's like you expect African Americans to respect and accept your heritage as a Nigerian, as a Somali person, as a, whatever country you're from. You expect African Americans to acknowledge that, but then suddenly you want to turn around and not acknowledge the African American culture. Get the fuck out of here. And that leads me to my next point. Number 8, African Americans are the most privileged Black people in the world. Yeah, go ahead and unsubscribe, because I said what I said. I can't think of not one other group of black people who has had access to more privilege. And again, my talking point still stands because if African Americans were so underprivileged in the United States, then why are people from other African countries moving to the United States? It's because of the opportunities in the United States. Slavery does not define your future, whether you're an African American person or an immigrant. Slavery and having a country with a history of racism and stuff, it does not have to define what your future is going to become. But I feel like a lot of people, they try to tap into the black inferiority complex with a lot of African American people. They're hoping that you, as an African American person, feel so inferior. And I just feel like if you're a black person from another country, not only is there an inferiority complex about your blackness or your heritage or your features, hair texture, etc., but I do feel like certain countries have their own inferiority complexes associated with that country. I said what I said. That's why a lot of people want to leave the places where they're from. That's why a lot of people want to move out of those countries. It's because they didn't like that country. Clearly, they didn't really like that country that much. If they don't want to spend the rest of their life there, I'm not moving out of the United States, bitch. I'm not retiring in Mexico. I'm not retiring in the Caribbean. I'm certainly not retiring in Nigeria or Ghana, with all due respect. So you cannot convince me that your country is so great and is the best country in the world, and that's the number one country that you want to live in if you don't live there. So, with that being said, put some respect on the names of the people who are in the country that you want to live in. Number 8, it's disrespectful to go to another country and not know shit about their language or their culture. That's fucking disrespectful. I would never do that. When I go to Mexico, I speak Spanish. When I go to a country where they speak a different language, I will speak that language. I will learn the basics of that culture. I'm not just going to go there like a dumbass, not speaking the language, not knowing any of the laws, not knowing any of the social norms, and then just expect the entire country to bend to my will. No, that's called narcissism. You're expecting the rest of the world to be monoculturally whatever you are, and that's not how life works. And that's exactly why a lot of people treat you like trash. It's because you came into their space disrespecting them. You don't go somewhere else and try to run shit over there. That's not your space. That's not the space that you created. That's not the space that you built. That's not the space that you live. That's not your home. If I come into somebody else's home, I don't go in there and try to destroy it. I don't go in there like knowing nothing about it, but then I expect them to turn around and know my language and know my culture. No, that's incredibly narcissistic. And I can see why some people react badly to that. Number 9, there is a such thing as good plastic surgery. And I feel like a lot of the people who talk shit about certain surgeries, they only show the bad surgeries. Like, how people get botched and stuff. Like, they'll show a bad boob job, they'll show a bad BBL, they will show a bad facelift. But I feel like sometimes people who do that are just threatened by the fact that a person can get plastic surgery and actually look good and actually look better than you. And then their body looks better or whatever. I really think that there is an agenda of almost like some of these pick me women or kind of insecure women where they talk all this shit about all these beauty enhancements, or they make it sound like, no matter what makeup you put on, it doesn't look as good as natural beauty, or it doesn't look as good as a natural body, when you know damn well that's a lie. Because if being natural truly looked the best, then in celebrity culture and beauty culture, there wouldn't even be a beauty industry. There wouldn't even be a quote unquote unrealistic beauty standard. What do you mean by unrealistic? Oh, that means it's actually based on things like surgeries and beauty enhancements? People love enhancements. People love fake shit. They love fake food at McDonald's. They love fake people. They act fake in their job interviews. And so why is it that suddenly when it comes to beauty, oh no, you just got to be the most real and most authentic person in the world? No, that's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism because you don't want to admit that Beyonce's BBL looks good. You don't want to admit that Rihanna's boob job looks good and that it's unclockable. You don't want to admit that Sierra's weave looks good. So that it's a coping mechanism. There is a such thing as a good beauty enhancement or a good looking surgery. Number 9, parents do have a favorite child. And they'll try to pretend and lie and say, oh, well, that's not true. I love everybody equally. That's bullshit. Parents have a favorite child and they have a least favorite child. And that leads me to my next point, which is that a lot of parents only love their children based off of how much they relate to them. So if your child turns out how you wanted them to turn out, then I noticed that a lot of parents, they have so much love for that child. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm proud of you." Why are you proud of that child? You're only proud because the child is doing something you wanted them to do. As soon as that child says, "I'm gay," or "I want to drop out of college," or "I want to become a rapper," "I want to be a stripper," "I want to be XYZ," then suddenly, where does that love go? Suddenly you start scolding the child. Okay, so your love for the child was conditional. You birthed that child in hopes that it would turn out like you. And then you turn around and complain and get mad when it doesn't. Okay, so then the love wasn't actually genuine. It wasn't actually real. And yes, you do have favorites. And no, you don't love all your children equally. Don't even get me started on men not loving their children equally. A lot of guys don't love their daughters as much as their sons. They treat their sons with more respect than their own daughters. They're more lenient with their sons. They give their sons more freedom in their identity. They allow their sons to date, to have sex, to go out late, to do whatever, to figure out his type in terms of girlfriends. And then suddenly with the woman, you want to have like this double standard with your daughter. So yeah, parents don't love their children equally. They don't. They love their children based on what child relates to them the most. This also ties into the exotical community, and it explains why a lot of mothers who have a different phenotype or whatever don't show love to their daughters because they cannot relate to you. Their love was only based on relatability. And I actually believe that's true for a lot of people when it comes to love. Oftentimes, loving someone, a family member, maybe a friend, maybe a romantic partner, it's literally just based off of how much they relate to you. So as long as you're my twin, in fact, that's what they call it. They call it twin or twin flame. Okay, so that's actually self-centered then. It's literally based on how much that person is similar to you. So as soon as they kind of veer off from your identity, then suddenly all that love disappears. And I see it happen with parents all the time. Number 10, if you birth the child into poverty, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I know it's okay. Go ahead and unsubscribe. You don't have to view my channel anymore if you're mad. I get it. But it's like, why would I birth a child? And then on top of that, I decided to birth the child into poverty. So I knew that I couldn't take care of the child. I knew that I didn't have money. I knew that the child would be raised in the ghetto. I knew that I would have a crying baby in a studio apartment. I knew that I would have to take the baby on the bus, on the subway, on the train. I knew that I didn't have a car and I still had the baby. No, I should have aborted it. Yeah, I said what I said. I'm pro choice. You should have just aborted it, especially if you are religious or if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, you believe that babies before they're born that they're with God, right? If you're a Christian, that's literally what Christians believe. They believe that before babies come to this earth, before the mother gets impregnated, the baby is like up in heaven with God, right? And God has a plan for the baby. Okay, so why would I take the baby out of heaven and then birth that baby onto this ghetto ass earth? No, just send the baby back up to heaven. Just be like, look, God is going to have to forgive me, or whatever religion you're a part of, they're going to have to forgive. And God, quote unquote, God would understand that you don't want to birth that child into a life of suffering and poverty, especially if it's a little boy, because I really do feel like a lot of male children are disadvantaged, even worse. And they're even less emotionally intelligent just based on how they're socialized. So he's literally going to be emotionally handicapped and financially handicapped. Why would I do that? Just stay in heaven with God. So it's like, how is it that you believe in the concept of God? You believe in the concept of heaven, but then suddenly you don't want your kids to be in heaven. You want your kids to get out of heaven and come down on this earth. For what? So that you can have your kid have the same identity as you, which is most likely not going to happen. Because children, as they grow up, anybody who studies psychology and child development knows that children will start to want independence as they get a little bit older. So they're going to naturally veer off from whatever you teach them. In fact, you're better off using reverse psychology in your parenting as opposed to, just trying to tell them outright what to do and lecturing them. So yeah, why would you birth a child into poverty? Just doesn't make sense to me. Never did. But then again, it's also not my problem. So there's that. Number 10, most relationships are a trauma bond. Oh, well, we've been through so much together. We've been together for 10 years. Why do you care? Oh, because of all we've been through. Okay, trauma bond. That's the only reason you're with that person. It's because you guys had a trauma bond. You started from the bottom. Now you're here. Okay, that means that it's trauma. You had the trauma of poverty. And now that you're in the NBA or NFL, now you feel like she's your ride or die. So I have a theory that most relationships are a trauma bond and that most men actually want you to trauma bond with him. That's why he wants you to stay after he cheats. He wants to go ahead and cause you that trauma and then stay so that he can get you nice and trauma bonded. Oh, well, I want a woman who's not waiting for me at the finish line. I want a woman that helped me to get to the finish line, a woman that was out, running the marathon with me. Okay, so you want her to go through the trauma of toiling and running and chasing and sweating and stressing and having high cortisol levels. Okay, that sounds like trauma to me. I don't understand how that's not a trauma bond. Anytime you ask a man to describe a relationship that's not based on a trauma bond, he won't even be able to answer for the most part. He won't be able to answer. Ask a man, if you have a boyfriend, ask him, what does love mean to you? And then see what he says. Usually he's going to name some form of a trauma bond. He's going to say, oh, love means that, she sacrificed a lot for me and stayed with me even when I was in the trenches, even when I was down and out. Okay, so trauma. So, to a lot of men, love equals trauma. Another unpopular opinion that I have is that if you are not friends with someone, or if you're losing friendships and family relationships because of something like political beliefs, sexuality, religious beliefs, or just any opinions, you're not very open-minded. Just don't say you're open-minded. I mean, I don't mind if you have a strong opinion on something, but don't try to tell me you're open-minded because you're not. You literally cut people off based on them voting for a certain candidate. Okay, so then you're not open-minded. You only want friends who are liberals, and that's fine. You only want friends who are conservative. You only want friends who are straight. You only want friends who are Christian. That's fine, but don't try to convince me you're open-minded because you're not. Open-minded means that you're okay with people having a different opinion or a different lifestyle than you. But if you're the type of person who views someone as your enemy because you find out that they have a different opinion, you are not open minded. That's absolutely closed minded. And hey, if you want to be closed minded, that's fine. But don't try to pretend like you're all woke and like you're so carefree. No, you're not. You're extremely closed minded and you prefer to only be around people who have things in common with you. So your whole life, you kind of want your life to be based on relatability. And that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. But just don't try to convince me that you're open minded. Okay, I think I'm on number 11. Long hair on a man is not cute. I said what I said. Just anything that reminds me of something that's like extremely feminine or like, his hair's tousled up. He's got two pigtails. He's got space buns. He's got a long side braid going down his back. No, I don't care. Oh, well, he's native. He's Afrocentric. He's Asian. He's this. He's that. I don't care what your heritage is. It doesn't change my opinion. I am not attracted to men with long hair. I just don't see the point in it. I just feel like a lot of men, they have all these standards for women and they have standards for women's femininity. And oftentimes it actually does include having some form of hair or maybe even long hair. So why can't I have a standard for masculinity? Why can't I have a standard masculine look that I want to have in a guy? Like, why is it that suddenly if I say a man having long hair is not cute, then suddenly, oh my God, you're so judgmental. Oh, well, he's just being Afrocentric. He's just growing out his dreads. I don't care why you're doing it. That's not going to make me attracted to you. Telling me that you're growing out your dreads because you want to look like Samson or the Abrahamic people and that you are the seed of your father, that's not going to make me attracted to you. I don't like men with long hair. I support man weaves as long as it's not a long-haired man weave. Don't come down with like the long mid back length silk press. No, I just don't like it. That is not my personal standard for a man like looking masculine. I associate a man looking masculine with him having some form of a haircut. Like he could have a couple inches of hair. Like I don't mind that, especially if he has some sort of afro or something. Okay, fine. But as far as long hair, like kind of hanging down past your shoulders, no. Or hanging down on your cheekbones like a bayang, like you got a side swoop bang. No, I'm just not attracted to it. I'm not attracted to men who do a whole bunch of manicures, pedicures, a whole bunch of jewelry. If he's sparkling, he's got more sparkly jewelry on than the average girl. No, I do not associate that with masculinity. I don't. So I don't care if I sound biased. If he's got hella piercings, hella ear piercings, he's got 3, 4, 5 diamonds in his ear. He's got diamond studs. He's got pearls on. He's got a gold chain on and then a silver chain and then a sparkly one that he's got the rosary on. He's got the cross necklace on. No, I associate all of those things with femininity. And the only reason I'm okay with the whole man weave thing, even though weaves are traditionally seen as feminine, the only reason I'm okay with a man weave or a hair transplant type of thing is because it literally looks ugly to me when a guy is like bald. I just feel like a guy going bald is him giving up. That's what I associate it with. I'm sorry. If you go bald, if you've given up on your hairline, what other stuff have you given up on in life? I'm just being honest. That's what I start thinking. That's literally where my brain goes. Like, oh shit, he couldn't even keep his hairline. How am I supposed to believe that he can keep a business, that he can raise some children, that he can keep a mortgage on a house, that he can keep up his credit and pay the lenders on time? This man couldn't even keep up with his hairline. He couldn't even get Rogaine. He couldn't go to the dermatologist. He couldn't go to a different barber. He couldn't pay to get the little powder or hairspray on his hair. So he can't even keep up with his own hairline and physical appearance. But I'm supposed to believe that suddenly he can keep up with everything else. He can keep up with being faithful, with having only one woman for the rest of his life, when he couldn't even save his hairline from receding. Yet I'm supposed to believe that he can somehow save me and protect me. He can't even protect his hair follicles. But number 12, unpopular opinion. Anything bad that happened in your life before the age of 18, that's your parents' fault. Okay, so if you were obese, if you had a bad attitude, if you were a narcissist, okay, blame your parents. But anything after the age of 18, that's your fault. It's your responsibility to fix it. I noticed a pattern in the United States where a lot of people they blame external factors for their own failures. They'll be like, "Oh, well the economy is bad. Oh, well, the markets are down right now and the United States is just not what it used to be and the job market is changing and then AI is coming in and taking over our jobs." Okay, well if you truly are a smart and resilient person, you shouldn't be threatened by that. So you expect me to believe that you're a smart and resilient and talented person, yet you're literally threatened by things like AI, the economy, the markets going down, the freaking weather, for God's sakes. So you got all these external factors that are influencing your perceptions, but you expect me to believe that you're a mentally strong person? No, you're not a mentally strong person. If you are heavily influenced by your external environments, you are not a mentally strong person. And that's okay, but don't try to convince me that you're just so woke and so intelligent when you couldn't even figure out how to make an income for yourself when the economy is down. People will work fast food jobs. They'll do DoorDash, they'll do pizza delivery, they will sell stuff online. And you're telling me that suddenly you're broke because, oh, the markets just collapsed. Do you know how many countries there are right now in the world with collapsed markets? And there are still people figuring out a way to survive. You literally have bad survival skills if your whole life revolves around the economy and the markets. You have bad survival skills, you have bad social strategy, and that's your responsibility to fix, not mine, not even the government, because the government can't save you. We already know that in a lot of cases, the government is incompetent, so I don't know why you would depend on them anyway. You're acting like if the economy changed tomorrow, suddenly you would become a multimillionaire. That's not even how the economy works. That's not even how basic economics work. When the markets go up, it doesn't mean that everybody suddenly goes from homeless to millionaire. So now you're telling me that you're not socially strategic and you're bad with finances. But anyway, number 12, if you do not get an education, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. I said what I said. I will never come on this YouTube channel and tell you, don't go to college, don't finish high school, don't finish middle school. No, you want to have some form of an education. It doesn't have to be university. It could be community college. It could be online school. It could be going to school to be an esthetician, going to school to become a nurse or something, or a CNA or whatever it is, learning some sort of trade. They have trade schools. But if you have no education whatsoever, you're going to be disadvantaged. You're going to forever be disadvantaged. You're going to forever have a glass ceiling. Oh, well, that's not fair. I know it's not fair. Who said life is fair? Who lied to you and told you that life is fair? No, life is based on who has certain privileges and who doesn't. It's not based on justice. So by not getting some form of education, you are literally cutting yourself off from having that education privilege. And like I said, I don't believe in a hierarchy of education, like, oh, university is automatically better. It doesn't have to be just a university. But if you're telling me you have no trade or anything, you didn't learn shit, well, yeah, you are going to actually spend the rest of your life working at McDonald's, probably, or just working in hotels or working as a waitress. Oh, and that leads me to my next point. You are not defined by your profession. I notice a lot of people, they define themselves based on what they do for a living, and then it screws them over because if they lose that job, then they have a hard time making money because they're too ashamed to work as a bartender for a few months. They're too ashamed to deliver pizzas for a couple months because they found their identity in whatever their job was. If you have that type of personality, you're always going to be behind in life. Always. I said what I said. But anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.